right, example 2. So let's get the trig ratios for 60 degrees now. Here we go. So example 2 says find the sine, the cosine, and the tangent of 60 degrees. If you go back to example 1 from yesterday, we got the sine of angle P, the cosine of angle P, and the tangent of angle P. This is yesterday, example 1, and you can watch the video from yesterday, or you can just quickly copy this in right now. And whatever's in red, you're going to copy in your own note guide. But what I want to go over right now is sine, cosine, and tangent. The way to memorize it, there's an acronym. An acronym is a word that allows us to memorize something where every letter stands for a word. How can we memorize a sine ratio that it's always opposite side over hypotenuse? How can we memorize that the cosine is always adjacent over hypotenuse, and that the tangent is always opposite over adjacent? What's a memory device that we can use? Well, the memory device is a Japanese sounding word. And you're going to write over here on this blank spot, right here on your notes. The word is SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. I'll write SOHCAHTOA right here on example 1. So right now we're flipping back to example 1. Before we address example 2, go ahead and write the word SOHCAHTOA on the right in that blank area. Nice. Let's keep going here, Sanderson. Sure. So we're going to write the word SOHCAHTOA. Now, what does SOHCAHTOA mean? Well, every letter stands for one of the parts of the ratio. This means sine is opposite. I'm going to put OPP over hypotenuse, HYP. And look, you see it right here. Look at sine is opposite over hypotenuse. That's what SOH means. Cosine, the cosine right here is adjacent over hypotenuse. That's why you have AH. Adjacent, I'll put adjacent over hypotenuse, HYP. And look, you see it. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And the last ratio, the trigonometry ratio, is tangent. So the tangent is opposite OPP over ADJ. I'll put ADJ for adjacent. You can see it right here. You can see it right in front of you on example 1. So by asking for a certain ratio, you refer to SOHCAHTOA to get that ratio. Okay. Now let's go to example 2. We know our 3 ratios, sine, cosine, and tangent. Watch this. Find the sine, cosine, and tangent of 60 degrees. Here we go. All right. I'm going to fill in the blanks here. We already know that the long leg of a 30, 60, 90 is rad 3. If the short leg is 1, then the long leg is 1 times rad 3, and the hypotenuse is 2. Go ahead and put that in there. And you're, fill in the blanks there. Whatever you see in red is what you're going to fill in the blank with. So here we go. First one. What's the sine of 60 degrees? Well, think of SOHCAHTOA. SOH, SOHCAHTOA. It's just a memory device. The sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So look at here, 60 degrees, your reference angle. That's the angle we're referring to, your reference angle. What's the opposite of 60? Well, look at, the side that's not touching 60 is rad 3. Over the hypotenuse is 2. So rad 3 divided by 2 on a calculator, they did it for you, is 0.8660. Look at, there it is from warm-up. Opposite and hypotenuse. What's the side opposite to 60 degrees? It's the square root of 3. That side's not touching 60. What's the hypotenuse? It's the longest side of a right triangle. It's 2. Moving right along. How about the cosine? Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So let's see, what side is adjacent to 60 here? Can anybody tell me what side is adjacent to 60? Here's 60. What side is touching 60? That's not the hypotenuse. 1. So look at it. And then the hypotenuse is 2. So it's 1 over 2. Thank you, Gagos. Adjacent over hypotenuse. 1 divided by 2, 0.5. This is the memory device helps me figure out the ratios. Last ratio is the tangent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So opposite of 60, rad 3, adjacent is the one that's touching 60 is 1. So it's rad 3 over 1, and that's exactly what we have. Rad 3 over 1, which is just rad 3. It's approximately 1.7321. You got this, Sabrina? Pretty easy. Question so far? Pretty straightforward, I trust. All right, let's go to the checkpoint exercises there. At the, go to flip the page, I think, or is it the bottom? Flip the page? Yeah. So it says, use a diagram at the right to find the sine, the trigonometric ratio, the sine of x. Okay, so the reference angle here, let's do this together. The reference angle is x. You always figure out what reference angle you're referring to. Sine. So think SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so the sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So, look at, so opposite over hypotenuse. So what's the opposite of x here? We'll go on the numerator. What side is opposite to x? 16. And hypotenuse would be 20. So 16 over 20 reduces to 4/5, right? If you take 16 over 20, opposite of hypotenuse, reduce that fraction, it becomes 4/5. 4/5 on your calculator becomes 0.8. Go ahead and copy that in. Questions? Right now, we're just figuring out ratios. In your mind, you're like, okay, what's the big deal about this ratio? So what, 0.8? What does that have to do with real life? How's that helpful to us? Stay tuned. We're going to get into that on Monday. Okay? Why is this ratio so important? It seems boring. Seems like a lot of work for just a ratio. So what? Again, hold your horses. Let's try number 2 now. Cosine of x. Okay. Cosine of x, okay. Cosine, SOHCAHTOA. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And we're dealing with x still. X is still our reference angle. Okay. So what side's adjacent to x?
16.
12 on. So the side that's touching x That's not the hypotenuse would be 12. And then the hypotenuse would be 20, yeah. So 12 divided by 20 reduces to 3/5, yeah? Because, let's see, 12 divided by 4 is 3. 20 divided by 4 is 5, 3/5. So 3/5, you type that puppy in your calculator, you're going to get 0.6 as your ratio. So right now, you need to be thinking, okay, what is adjacent, what is hypotenuse, what does opposite mean? Adjacent, opposite, hypotenuse. There's only 3 to memorize. Adjacent, opposite, or hypotenuse. How is that figuring into these problems? That's what your mission is right now, as you're taking notes. Let's try tangent now. I think the last one's tangent. Or is that it? Here we are. Tangent of y. It's a different angle now. Different reference angle. So y is right over here at the bottom. It's the other acute angle. So we're not dealing with x now, we're dealing with y. That's your reference angle now. And we want to know the tangent. Tangent is a side that's opposite over adjacent. So tangent is opposite over adjacent. So we're looking at the angle y. What side is opposite angle y? What side's not touching angle y? 12. Thank you. 12. Now, what side's adjacent to y? 16 or 20? Right. You pick the one that's not the hypotenuse. So that'd be 16. So 12 divided by 16, if I reduce that puppy, it becomes 3/4. Right? Divide both by 4, you get 3/4. 3 divided by 4 is 0.75. All right, questions on this? SOHCAHTOA, sine, cosine, tangent.